For long centuries, Europeans puzzled over the mystery. Where did the Roma come from? What was their true homeland? And why did this people, like a wandering shadow, find themselves on the roads of Europe? There were few answers, and the Roma themselves, a free and nomadic people, left no written records behind. Their life was a mystery to the settled world, full of inexplicable rituals and traditions. But it was this very mysteriousness that sometimes turned against them. Some admired their music and dances, some feared their prophecies, and others hated them for a freedom they could not understand. Century after century, the Roma had to fight against prejudice. They were slandered, expelled, and destroyed. Yet the Roma themselves seemed to know a secret. Freedom can be neither bought nor destroyed. There were many legends about the origin of the Roma. Some whispered that they were descendants of Egyptian pharaohs, exiled for an unknown transgression. Others said they were surviving Atlanteans who carried with them the remnants of ancient knowledge. There were even those who claimed that the Roma were ancient magicians who condemned themselves to eternal wandering as punishment for their power. So, where is the truth and where is the myth? The history of the Roma is the history of the very spirit of freedom, which the world both feared and admired. Perhaps that is why the solution to their origins remains hidden under the veil of time. When speaking of the Roma, it is often forgotten that they are not a single people but a multitude of ethnic groups, about 80 worldwide. Their true history long remained hidden under a cloak of legends and conjectures. For centuries, Europeans believed that the Roma came from Egypt. Moreover, the Roma themselves actively supported this version, claiming to be descendants of the pharaohs. This legend not only added to their mystical aura, but also helped them evoke respect or fear in those they encountered. However, the late 19th century became a turning point in the search for their true roots. The German linguist August Pott conducted a deep analysis of the Romani language. His research revealed a truth that had eluded scholars for decades. The homeland of the Roma is India. A comparative analysis of the Romani language showed many similarities with Indian dialects, which became irrefutable proof of their Indian origins. This conclusion not only overturned prevailing notions about the Roma, but also opened a new page in the study of their culture and history. The truth turned out to be even more interesting than the legends, and the journey of the Roma from India to Europe is a story of survival, adaptation, and the preservation of a unique identity through the centuries. The Roma's journey from their Indian homeland to Europe was long and spanned many centuries. Scholars believe their migration began around the 5th century and continued until the 10th century. The exact dates remain a mystery, but according to one popular theory, the Roma spent about 4 centuries in Persia, where their culture and traditions underwent significant changes. From Persia, they traveled further to the Byzantine Empire, where many of them settled and converted to Christianity. It was in this region that their crafts and skills began to attract the attention of the local population. After the fall of the Byzantine Empire, the Roma continued their journey, spreading across European countries. In historical documents from the 15th to 17th centuries, the Roma are mentioned as metalworkers, harness makers, saddlers, animal trainers, and fortune-tellers. However, fortune-telling was a common trade in Byzantium, so the Roma simply continued this tradition, complementing it with their own artistry. Their talent as blacksmiths and performers also did not go unnoticed. They quickly won the hearts of audiences with their songs, dances, and theatrical performances. The first mention of the Roma on the territory of the Russian Empire dates back to 1733, and since then, their culture has become an integral part of European history. This path, full of trials and adaptation, made the Roma one of the most unique peoples in the world, a people who managed to preserve their identity despite constant changes and hardships. The Roma's path through Europe was far from easy. For centuries, they were persecuted, discriminated against, and destroyed, often out of fear, ignorance, and stereotypes. In medieval Europe, where scientific discoveries coexisted with the fires of the Inquisition, the nomadic lifestyle of the Roma aroused particular suspicion. The settled society did not understand or accept those who were not tied to the land and refused to follow established norms. In England, they were called a dirty race, forbidden to marry, and their children were taken away to be raised in other families. In other countries, The Roma were persecuted as heretics, suspected of consorting with the devil, and their nomadic way of life was interpreted as a challenge to social stability. Throughout the centuries, attempts were made to force the Roma to abandon their way of life. They were forcibly turned into settled peasants. Their children were taken from them in an effort to erase their national identity. But this only intensified their resistance and made them targets of new persecutions. The most tragic page in their history was the period of the Second World War. During the Nazi regime, the Romani people were subjected to one of the most brutal genocides. According to recent data, about 200,000 Roma were exterminated in death camps. Despite centuries of persecution and oppression, the Roma managed to preserve their unique culture, language, and traditions, which they still hold sacred to this day. For the Roma, family has always been the heart of everything. The laws of the community and kinship are above any state rules for them. It was this unwavering cohesion that became the foundation, allowing the Romani people to survive under constant persecution and hostility. Romani culture has had a huge influence on European art. The brightest example is flamenco, which originated in Andalusia under the strong influence of Romani folklore. Today, this dynamic and passionate dance is considered a world treasure and is on the UNESCO list of the intangible heritage of humanity. The art of the Roma inspired many great creators. Their music, dances, and history are reflected in the works of artists, composers, and writers. For European society, the Roma became the embodiment of a free spirit, defiance, and mystical charm. They did not just preserve their culture. They enriched the world around them, weaving their traditions and art into the fabric of global cultural heritage. The Roma remain a symbol of how one can preserve their identity while remaining a part of global culture. Today, representatives of the Romani people are settled throughout Europe and beyond, including the USA. However, despite the lack of a single territory, they preserve their identity and cultural heritage. A landmark moment for the Roma was the First World Romani Congress, held in London in the second half of the 20th century. It was then that the Roma were officially recognized as a single nation, not tied to a specific land. At this Congress, their national symbols were adopted, an anthem and a flag, and traditional elements of the coat of arms became a horseshoe, a wheel, or cards, reflecting their nomadic spirit. The Roma themselves explain their love for freedom and wandering with an ancient legend. According to their tradition, God, enchanted by their joyful and creative attitude toward life, did not want to limit them to the borders of one territory and instead gave them the entire world. The Roma are a truly unique people who have managed to preserve their culture and pass its spirit down through generations. Their music, dances, art, and philosophy of freedom attract and inspire people from all over the world. This rich culture is open to everyone who is ready to see in it something more than just the mystery of their origins. One can feel differently about this people, hate them, or deny their existence, but there is certainly no point in arguing with their contribution to the cultural heritage of the world.